Hello, everybody. Welcome. I hope you all had a lovely little lunch. And so my name is Jason. I'm one of the organizers here at WordCamp Vienna. And I would like to present Max, who's going to explain us a little bit about his honeypot beehive inker hobby. In other words, having his websites getting hacked. And so we would love to hear about it. So let's give him a warm applause and welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect. So I was looking forward to actually my trip to Vienna. First of all, to actually attend this event. It's actually the first event abroad, so yeah, just bear with me a little bit. And the other reason was Wiener Schnitzel, but I already had it yesterday, so yeah, I'm leaving from here fulfilled. So yeah, but let's cut to the chase. I'm Max. I'm doing products, different products, and I have worked with WordPress for years. I stopped counting. I believe that's way more than 10 years of business experience, and then like hobby experience as well. So recently I came across a very interesting case. I started to collecting lots of knowledge, but we'll get there eventually. So basically the whole reason we're having this presentation is the fact that it's my working experience. So I used to work with banks and financial institutions. I was building websites for this kind of institutions using WordPress. That's possible. It works really smoothly and nice. The problem, well, it's not actually the problem. Someone would consider that as a blessing. And well, when you get there, you realize when you need to think about lots of details of building websites, you don't have to actually think about. So it is some low requirements, stuff like that. It's basically, it's getting more difficult because you build the website, you build all the functionalities, and then you get into that red tape and bureaucracy and stuff like that. So basically what happens, you need to provide a detailed documentation, lots of documents, you need to run the performance tests, security tests, and way more than that. You need to ensure that data is stored securely, especially when it contains some personal information. You have to prepare, actually the building functionality and websites is the easiest part of it, and then you get into that documents. So yeah, that's the worst part of that experience, and that made me a little bit paranoid because I had to deal with this kind of events on a daily basis. So I remember my very first pen test. So what happened? I was raised with, basically provided a document that was, I don't know how long, but around 75 pages, with all my mistakes me and my team did in creating the website. And yeah, that was many years ago, and now I'm standing here extremely paranoid. So everything like is building a website is not the same experience anymore because you need to take lots of different aspects into consideration as well. So the title is a little bit catchy, but yeah, it's actually what happened. I actually wanted to get my websites hacked, and I don't mention that to my clients because you can imagine that I'm standing in front of the client. Oh, hey, look, well, my last 50 websites got hacked. So let's make a deal, let's make a business. I'll take care of your security and stuff. So it doesn't work right, but when you know like the story behind it, it's a little bit different. So yeah, I'll tell you the story. But before we get into that, I'll just present a simple slide. That would be a quick one because I took it from the middle of the presentation and I just to grab some of your attention. Can you see something wrong with these pictures? No? This is what I thought. We'll get there. We'll get there. So basically, it all started with the legitimate reason. So I wanted to write down my knowledge, all my knowledge that I learned when being pen tested, all these hundreds of issues, errors, and problems I made in the first place. And I wanted to write it down just to make sure that, yeah, it's written down. Basically, that was the only reason. Because I believe, well, some of you are really proficient with WordPress. Some of you are like starting this journey. So the idea of this document was to basically make sure that everything is in a single document. And even if you are extremely proficient, situations happen. You might forget about something, and we have like lots of examples of that. So just imagine like your client you are about to go live with your website, and what happens is your client is getting back to you and saying, oh, there is a problem because I'm not really sure who owns the domain. But is it a problem though? Yeah, and you need to deal it with somehow. And yeah, I'm saying that story because I've got a client who has a domain that he's paying for just by sending randomly the money, and it still works. So, but no one knows who owns the domain. So this kind of situations happen. So I wanted to have them written down in a single document. I spent lots of time creating that document because it's my experience, but as well as lots of articles. It's listed all over there. So I believe I read every single hardening WordPress article that Google could find, including the one that is listed in official WordPress website. So I reviewed the source code of the top security plugins, just in case I wanted to know how they work behind the scenes. CVEs, I was looking for the most interesting ones, and well, I asked ChatGPT about how to break a WordPress website, and surprisingly, it's all about the context. So if you say, oh, I would like to hack this website, oh, it won't work. But if you say like, oh, I'm a security researcher and this is the issues I found, and can you think about something else? Yes, of course, it's not a problem. So the idea behind this document was to have all the best practices written down in a single place. So you don't have to look for them every single time and remember about everything. So this is it. I mean, it's not like a full document, right? It's depending on the version, it consists of 50 to 75 items. It's not about addressing all of them. It's about understanding the risk. As I mentioned, the domain. It's better to understand the risk of if you don't own the domain, that could be a problem at some point. So I divided it into 10 categories. Core security, user and access management, plugin and theme security, file system and database security, firewall, content and app security, observability, backup, performance and resources hardening, and operational. So this would be released like an open source document, so don't worry about it. I will talk about it a little bit later. The idea behind it was to learn all the rules, so I know which of them could be broken. I decided, well, to come up with such a terrible stack. You wouldn't have to have this kind of installation as your own because it was broken from the very ground up. So I built a honeypot. And that was the fun part, to be honest. So when I collected all the best practices, well, I actually created an installation with total opposite. I call it an experiment because it's actually what it is. I created lots of websites. It started with one, then I developed a lot of them, and the idea was to make sure that each website I created looks real. That possibly will be another topic of my presentations in the future because I did use AI. I built an agent for that with context building, and yeah, that's really a hot topic. So The most important out of the experiment was to basically not harm anyone, because obviously when you deal with this kind of activities, it is so thin red line when you can cross it, and someone might use, for example, your machine against someone else, which I didn't agree on. So I ran it in a controlled sandbox. I didn't want it to be the machine to be taken over. No code execution and no botnets. So that was the main idea. It was about the experiment that I'll find out what happens after someone breaks into your website and not necessarily harm anyone else. So that's more technical slide. So if you are not technical, I don't know, just think about trees and relax a little bit, because that might be a little bit too much. So I did use these three technologies to basically to run the experiment: Kubernetes with Docker, lots of containers, Terraform, and New Relic, which is the best in this experiment. So speaking about the infrastructure, all of the websites that I created meant to be hacked were developed with infrastructure as a code concept. So it was meant to be deployed quickly and killed also quickly. I wanted to sleep tight, so yeah, basically I introduced some events that basically could kill all of the existing instances and break the experiment, just in case if someone broke the rule that I set up in the first place. The LAMP stack, which means lots of WordPress websites run on the LAMP stack, but it was configured in a so weird way, and it left so many problems living in the configuration. And observability. It's one of the key takeaways of this presentation. So I did want to log absolutely everything. I thought it in the way that if someone sneezed in the data center, that would be logged basically, and logged forever, at least for 30 days. So I collected all of the error logs, access log, SQL logs, audit D logs, everything was logged. Then I have enabled mod dump.io, which is the worst practice. Don't do that, but I really wanted to know all of the passwords that bots were sending to my instance. Don't do that, because obviously it's insecure, but well, hey, that's my experiment, so yeah, it's all in the name of the science. Just yeah, I basically did what every single adult would do, like set up 50 instances and let them hack and burn them. So I enabled the activity log plugin, which is great because it saves every single action that was taken in your WordPress dashboard, and also connected that with syslog to push it to the New Relic. I'm talking about this New Relic stuff. So isn't the standard logs not enough? Not in this case, because I was worried when someone breaks in, the logs could be deleted, basically. So I wanted to have them in separate cloud infrastructure. So I decided to use New Relic, but there is like lots of different services you can use. And basically the idea was to make them immutable. So if they get to the to New Relic, they cannot be deleted, which is great because I've got a track of basically everything what happens in my experiment. So the experiment itself, I did lots of bad stuff in here. Don't do that. Everything you can see in here is basically a anti-pattern. So the first one is outdated plugins, but not the regular plugins. I found the most pirate website you can find. Oh, there was a ship on it, and yeah, I downloaded some plugins and put that on my website. Well, it's the way to save some money, you know. But yeah, each stick has like both ends, and you need to think about it. So a few environments with WP config.php present. So it has connection with it had connection with the database, but it was not installed. So you can take over that with no problems. Admin passwords were so terrible, but we will get there. There was no MFA. why would you need that? It was just vibing, and XML RPC was also publicly available because why not? I mean, it's just an experiment. Yeah. So that's my favorite part. If you use any of these passwords, good job, because you basically give me job. That's what I really like. But honestly speaking, if these passwords were one of the most insecure, that's crazy, right? Who would think about it? One of the most insecure passwords you can have, but I believe we all know that, right? But what about our clients? That might be not that easy for them. So it's always best to, well, let everyone know about it. One surprising thing was about these two passwords. So if you have to consider about the best password for you, you better choose password 7. That was really surprising to me because, well, I had one of the instances with administrator, with a login administrator and then password 7, and it was alive for like 2 weeks, you know. I was so surprised because it's one of the easiest passwords you can guess, but yeah, don't use any of these, just in case. And it happened. So yeah, my websites got hacked, and that's, people go absolutely crazy when I'm visiting like WordCamps and I'm just standing with some friends and I'm holding my computer. Oh no, my websites got hacked, and you know that silence, especially from coming from people that don't know about my experiment, and oh no, what now? And I'm always like, oh, I'll have another website. It's not a problem. So. Yeah, it happened to me so many times. I'm really just happy that it happened in the experiment, not in a real life. So getting back to the initial slide, can you guess what's wrong with this picture? That's a dashboard, one of the websites. Any ideas? Sorry, what's that? Yeah. That was a part of experiment, you know. The problem is, besides updates and besides the new core version of WordPress and some informational notices, there's nothing wrong with this picture, and that's what's most worrying in this scenario, because this website was hacked. So just so you know, this is what you can experience when your website is hacked. You visit your website, it's absolutely fine. You get into the dashboard, it's absolutely fine. So nothing happened really, right? No. Well, I had lots of domains, like 60 of them. Some of them is about to expire in a few days, so the experiment took me some time. Lots of installations, over 50 hacks. Some of the websites were not hacked because I probably set too difficult passwords. Let's not talk about it. So many logs, that's the problem. My computer is it's a little bit old, but it cannot hold the amount of logs I collected. It's like in terabytes right now. And the biggest problem is, like, if you deal with this kind of logs, you need to download them, import them in some kind of the aggregator, and then you can actually work with them. So it takes even more space, and I'm not capable of analyzing all the logs. Countless login attempts. That's brute force, basically. So lots of people trying to log into my instances using the administrator account. Yeah, it gave me like lots of passwords. So if you have any questions about which password you shouldn't use, just ask me. I'll know all of them. So this is a statement I make on every single presentation. It's basically WordPress is secure. Okay. So people ask me what happens. So what is the point of having this presentation if WordPress is secure? So why do we have this presentation? Well, it was me. And that's the main problem. The human factor is really important in protecting the resources. Security is generally a process, so we need to take care that take that into the consideration. It's all about plugins. It's all about people using it. In lots of attempts to hack my instances. None of them were actually targeting the core files. So, well, we can consider that as a secure. And now the most interesting part, so the hacking experience. So what you can see is basically a chart visualizing what happened in the first 24 hours of one of the instances that I set up. So I divided these events into 4 categories. The first one, brute force. At first, none of them happened. Then we've got application enumeration. What's that? So basically, it's some bots trying to guess who are you and what are you as what application is that. So they're trying Drupal, some files typical for Drupal, some files typical for WordPress, some files typical for Laravel, environmental files. So they're just testing you. So to guess how can break into your website, basically. Then we've got MySQL attacks. There was some of them, basically MySQL attacks, because the port was publicly available. The password was also really simple, so I could observe lots of attacks of this type, SSH attacks as well. This is basically what you need to deal with when you leave your ports open. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you have some managed hosting, just make sure these are disabled and you'll be fine. So that was one of the most surprising things I came across. So when I set up one of the instances, it was scanned for the very first time after 12 seconds. So I thought it was me doing some crazy stuff in the background, but it wasn't me. So what happened when you basically expose your website on the IP address, there are bots that are constantly running on all of the available IP addresses. And I was lucky enough to, my website to be scanned in 12 seconds. And that was a website that I created based on my crazy idea of wanting to be a plumber or something like that. And bots just got there. Okay, so let's come back to the initial slide. So you remember the dashboard. So these were plugins installed in one of the instances. And the dashboard that I was presenting was actually connected with this file system. So anything wrong in this picture? The first directory. So first of all, you can notice the different date. And well, I never heard about the plugin Akismets. You probably know Akismet, but Akismet, what's that? So yeah, I've noticed that by accident. So I kept looking for the source. So someone guessed the password, logged in, removed the original Akismet, installed this one. This was a little bit outdated, and I was trying to see what's inside. So this was inside. So that's really interesting piece of software, because someone put a backdoor in my installation. So this is what happened in the first place. So it was logging all of the information about my installation: web server system, user, PHP version, disabled functions, because I mentioned that I didn't want my website to become a part of the botnet. So as you can see, there is exec, for example, shell exec that are disabled. Security. So you've got different kind of functionalities, and you can go through all of the files of the server, especially when you don't block the PHP user, you don't lock it into some specific directory. So you could see all of the contents that the www data user could access in the machine. So it also allows you to run a command and do more stuff like that. So what's really interesting about this one, it uses OG image, and that OG image was basically served from one of the popular image hostings. So I visited that image, and what I could see, it was viewed 44,000 times. And just after someone installed that piece of software on my website, what happened next? There was a Telegram bot visiting my website just to, Well, I consider that what happened was they had some kind of automation. So when they successfully broke into the website, they were just sending information to some Telegram channel, and the bot that actually visits the website that is visit the link that is sent in the message, basically access that to generate the OG image. So 44,000, you know, they were like, I've got like a collection of these, like 20 or more. This one was also interesting, and the interesting part is like you needed to put some specific accept language, which was high, to basically decrypt the plugin and see the contents of it. So this is basically to bypass all the malware scans, just to make sure that you don't contain, the script doesn't contain these words like well, exec, base 64 decode and stuff like that. So they can still have access to that. So in some injection, I'm not really, I know that it's really difficult to read, but what it does, it injects lots of ad systems into your website. It blocks the ad blocker. So yeah, lots of things happening behind the scenes. And what's really interesting about it is, well, it's not visible for logged in users. So you visit your website, everything works smoothly because you logged in, and then you log out, and what happens is like, oh, why it contains so many ads on the website. Okay, so these kind of events happen if you don't follow like the most basic well, security recommendation, and that's my theory that basic sites get basic hacks. We don't talk about well, some difficult processes happening behind the scenes. These are simple bots that are scanning basically everything that's in the internet, and they use different technologies like IP addresses scans, port scans, reverse DNS lookups. There is like lots of these. They test your credentials, they test leaked credentials, and I believe because some of the passwords were so odd, I don't believe they were popular enough to be used in a standard brute force methodology. So they enumerate your application, trying to guess what it is, brute force it. So it's basically like the most basic tools that hackers can get, and most likely they are fully automated. And based on my experience, and that was a little bit surprising to me, most of hacks didn't break anything. So usually they added some user or replaced the plugin and left it like, let it live there. So basically I believe the reason why is like if you have, for example, hosting instance and it stores you like a 30 days of backups, what happens next is like after 30 days, they will do something to your website. You come back to the latest backup, but it doesn't change anything. So when you are a bigger target, the attacks become a little bit smarter. So if you deal with big websites, you basically need to have like a security team because, well, it gets more and more difficult rather than the regular brute force attacks. So that could be attacks oriented on specific people or specific plugins, and yeah, that potentially can be a problem. So key takeaways. Let's come back to the document I created in the first place to prevent this kind of attacks from happening. And right now, well, let's explore two sections. The first one is user management. I had like few of items from that section. Make sure the passwords are strong. I'm pretty sure you know that, but make sure that your clients know that as well, and make sure that your website does not allow, oh, it's built in, so it should be fine. Multi-factor authentication, that should be in every single WordPress instance. Make sure that you have that as well. Because even if someone gets the password, it's not that easy to get in still. Brute force prevention, it's built into lots of security plugins. Just make sure it's configured, because, well, enabling the plugin doesn't fix that at the very beginning. You still need to make some changes in the configuration and observability. So everything you could see in that presentation was basically because of the reason I had a decent tool for logging. You should have that in your installation too, because if something bad happens to your instance, you can guess what actually happened. Most of the problems with the existing websites that getting hacked because of silly mistakes, like I explained, is like no logs. Well, simple access log is not enough. You should have a little bit more of this. The activity log plugin is great because you can see someone updated the file, someone installed the plugin. Make sure you review these logs, and you can address the risks by defining critical events, set alerts, get notified. Because if you log in to your WordPress instance and you get a notification, that's fine, you know, but the problem starts when you are in a vacation mode and you get the notification that someone logs into your account. That's really bad. So if you need like a full framework, you can message me. I'll be sending that with pleasure. But you can also follow me on the social media. I'll be sharing lots of. I've got like, I don't know. I stopped counting these, and you can just follow me, and I'll be sharing lots of information, lots of interesting cases. So you don't have to deal with consequences. That's pretty much it. Thank you. That was a pleasure to be here once again. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Many thanks. I have a friend that her website was hacked 2 times. It was from scratch, and I'm wondering, she had a great password. She knew what she was doing, but anyway, isn't maybe the mistake that our providers are not enough secure? Maybe, you know, something back down there deeper?
That's definitely possible.
I think that's maybe that still.
That could be right. It could be plugins. That's the problem. I did not have, simply because I've got observability in place, so I knew about all of the actions happening behind the scenes. So this is like a key step to understand what happens in that instance. So installing some kind of a activity log plugin is a great choice because you can guess some of the problems. I mean, it could be everything. Security is a tough topic. So the password is one of the ways of getting into the instance. It could be plugins. It could be a bad configuration. Basically, lots of different reasons why. Understanding what happens behind the scenes is extremely important. So understanding, like collecting the logs or logs for the activity in the website, it's basically the very first step to understand what's happening behind the scenes. And I believe that's the key takeaway from my presentation. You should know what's happening behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So thanks for your presentation, you said, and my question is, you said most of the problems come with the human factor. And
I agree.
My question is, that's a question I had for a long time. What's the best practice? Is it like installing some WordCamp security plugin? Or is it like installing like trusted plugins, installing not lots of plugins for simple things, only the big things, and harden it like one at a time instead of one security plugin?
Well, first of all, there is no good answer for that. I'm sorry, but I wish there would be a good answer for that. But as I mentioned, security is a process. So lots of people think that they will enable the plugin and it solves the work for them. I mean, that's definitely good approach to have a plugin. but they don't address all of the risks at the same time because some of the risks are not available in the security plugins. It's that's why I created actually the security framework, because it allows you to iterate through all of the items and estimate the risk for your specific use case. So you can some of the websites needs to be extremely secure. Some of the websites, well, need just a reasonable level of security. So it's the best to basically go through the list and address every single item, or don't address when you think it's not necessary to do that. And based on that, you can decide whether it's best to use the plugin or use like all-in-one solution, because there are different solutions that are doing exactly the same thing. So it's really difficult to answer these questions because there is no good answer for them.
So what do you do, for example, on your pages? Do you use security plugins, or do you harden it by yourself?
No, I don't use security plugins. It's simply because I believe that most of the issues mentioned in the security framework can be solved on the infrastructure level. So, for example, utilizing the good CDN with a web application firewall can block like 50% of these attacks. Then, if you think about the implementation of multi-factor authentication, you can completely replace the login flow with some kind of a plugin. So yes, technically I use plugins because you need to replace the original login flow with something else. And then you've got some cloud provided solution like Okta, for example, or Auth0, which you can use. You can basically rely on that when you think about user management, and you've got lots of security practices at the same time. So, for example, the brute force protection, if you enter the password more than 10 times, you get your account gets blocked. You can set up different MFA rules and stuff like that. So I don't use any of the popular security plugins because I try to address as much as I can at the infrastructure level, but still there are some cases that plugins are really useful. I think combination of Jetpack and some login solution could be like a good starting point, assuming that you'll address this kind of issues at the infrastructure level.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Hello, first of all, thank you for your presentation. I have two questions. Both are regarding the login. The first is, it's just a guess, but I think to obscure or change the WP admin or login doesn't make any sense in my opinion, I guess. Or is it something you could do additionally on top of other things because I'm just doing it because I don't see the sense, because you just hide it? Or would you still recommend to do it?
You know what's really surprising? These bots are so stupid, and that's a blessing for us. Because what I did in one of the instances at the infrastructure level, I completely blocked the wplogin.php. It was just returning the unavailable as a response. So these bots were still trying to post the form that did not exist. So I have a strong assumption, if you change the URL of the wplogin.php, you can actually get rid of some portion of this request coming to your server. So for very, very long time, I thought it's like pointless, but it can actually help a little bit because well, it won't help you if you have like a super big website and someone, like a physical person, will access it and will notice, oh, it doesn't work. But when it comes to the stupid bots like I was dealing with, that might work actually.
Okay, so a cherry on the top, something you can do additionally. And the second question about two-factor authentication.
Yes.
I'm using double two-factor authentication, but I don't know if it makes sense because you use it on WordPress level, or I'm using Cloudflare also, and I have double two-factor because my thinking was what if someone bypasses, I don't know how, but what if someone bypasses Cloudflare, so I have even 2x two-factor. Is that a stupid approach or something you can do?
That's
Or
actually
how are
what
you doing it?
that's actually what I'm thinking about as well. When you have, for example, like WordFence has a MFA solution, but my thought was like, okay, if I saved all the information about the multi-factor authentication in the same database as it could be hacked at some point in a different ways, well, I didn't know how to think about it, especially when even if you decide to go with some cloud provider, for example, Okta or Auth0, so external SSO providers. The problem is if someone gets access to your database, the plugin can be disabled, and well, that's the problem. Really difficult to tackle. I just believe that you should do your best. Any MFA solution is better than no MFA solution, because at least you get rid of these bots, and they won't be disturbing you and your nights when you sleep. So yeah, again, stuff about security is really difficult to answer. Every single use case requires different solution. I've got like, I believe the framework I prepared is basically listing this kind of issues with some recommendations. As I said, I believe any MFA provider is better than none of them. In the end, I also believe that any website can be hacked at some point. It depends on the cost. If you are willing to pay a few $1 million to hack some website, you can. There are different ways of doing that rather than accessing that through the web.
Based on that, what you said, I think that anybody can, any website can be hacked. And I read some couple of years ago that the company that was taking care of hacking was hacked. So that really means I don't know what's the name of it. And they explained everything what happened. I barely understood, but still, everything can be hacked. So,
I
cannot,
believe so.
You know, like we are, getting into security mode, or we are preparing ourselves, but still, it happens. So whatever, it just, I think. So thanks.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, because there is always a human factor, and sometimes hammer works better than RSA when it comes to the encryption, because you can do something to a person, and no one wants to die for a couple of passwords. So that's, well, we got really far. I don't want to talk about it, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's like, it possibly can happen.
So I have another question.
Yeah.
There was a few years ago, there was a speaker who also did a security speech, and he did an interesting thing. He said that you also need to secure the 5-minute installation, because you said here it was 20 seconds and it was hacked. So I got panicked, and he said also that you need to secure the 5-minute installation, also with maybe an HDX or something like that.
That's a great approach.
So I did the way I did something like I did a script, a PHP script, who automatically downloads the WordPress directory, and also hardens with HDXs, so you can't exit this. So if, for
really
example, they exit this on the installation, they do the installation, then reset it, do a backdoor, and you don't know anything about it, because you only see the installation process.
Exactly, and it takes seconds. So that was when I presented that presentation for the very first time, like half a year ago. So that was one of the suggestions. So what about the 5-minute installation? And I was like, oh yeah, that could be a problem. And that's why I mentioned in one of the test case, we basically left the wp config.php with all of the credentials provided. But at some point, well, it wasn't like immediate, but sometimes stuff like that happens, especially when you're preparing some staging environments. They just live there for some period of time, and you might forgot about it, and out of the sudden you realize, oh, so the website is actually not mine anymore. So definitely this is a good practice, basically, to cover everything when it comes to the work in progress environments. There's different ways to accomplish that. You can use WP CLI. You can use some server configuration to ensure that there is HTTP authentication enabled, for example. There is like plenty of solutions. So you can limit that by the IP address, for example, using our CDN provider. So definitely good practice, good job.
Thanks for that.
I'm fine. I just wanted to say that was my talk.
Oh, really?
I basically have two questions. One question is, where did you publish your website so that it became visible to bots? And the second question is it still true that social engineering is more dangerous than hacking itself?
Yes, definitely. That was the answer for the second question. Speaking about the first question, I didn't publish it anywhere. So
how did they find
First
out?
of all, I believe that was most of the website I actually set up were available using IP addresses, which is not a typical scenario for most of the websites. So when you enter some IP address, it was redirecting to my website. So basically, I believe this is how you can find website 12 seconds after it's being set up. So I don't think this is like a regular approach to building websites. You don't expose them on the IP address anymore. You basically rely on the domains and DNS system. So they were published nowhere. But at the same time, I've noticed that there are different bots scanning the internet, and I've noticed that in that experiment as well. They are basically trying to learn all of the details about the DNS system. So if you put some IP address of the of the server, one of the servers, it can somehow, it's basically based on the scanning, can return you the domain of the installation. So there are ways of scanning what's being put in for example, Kubernetes cluster, and but I don't really know how do they know in the first place. To be honest, they just know. So we talk about websites that were installed without any public IP address, and someone found it. So difficult to answer this one. But I believe this is how it works. This is how internet works like. So it becomes a massive network, and if you put somewhere in the internet, you can assume that someone will find it. So there is lots of different scenarios when companies get hacked because they are trying to store some files in private areas, and the private area is basically some identifier in the directory or something like that, and then you learn out of the sudden about the leaked documents from some company because someone forgot to set up the server correctly and was listing, for example, the directory. So things like this happen. That's amazing. Well, we observe that, but at the same time we need to be extremely secure. Not only with WordPress instances, but also with our private accounts, Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. It's always good to have multi-factor authentication.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Cool. Thank you so much then.